My name is Victor. I'm the CEO of Onova. Onova is an innovation consultancy that helps Fortune 500 companies build innovation cultures that last. We do this by running programs like hackathons, incubators, and design sprints, effectively bringing together your high-performing employees to build solutions to the most complex problems within your business. We are also a product studio building software products of our own. We fundamentally believe that we want to continue practicing what we preach. So we're constantly not only advising companies on how to build innovation culture, but also building things on our own. So right now we're running a software platform that is helping people to better manage hackathons and run innovation programs that we sell alongside our consulting services. And two, we're currently building PokerGPT, which is the world's first AI poker coach. My journey started actually initially as an entrepreneur when I graduated from school. I tried to build a tech startup. It completely failed after about a year for a number of reasons, and then took a 180 and then went into the corporate consulting world instead. That's actually where I met my co-founder as new hires at that company. We eventually started running hackathons on the side for fun and saw the potential to turn this into a real business. We raised some funding internally. Next thing we know, it became our full-time jobs, and we're running dozens of hackathons for clients and across the company. And then about 4.5, 5 years ago, we decided to spin that off as our own company. And today we continue to work with that old firm that we used to work for as both a client and a partner of ours. I would say major milestones for sure is that very first year when we got our first $10,000 check from a client as a milestone payment. That was amazing. I think there's many moments when you launch and build a new business from one, actually launching the business, whether it's getting your website up or getting your very first customer. And then also once you get that very first dollar in the door is a very, very meaningful moment. Last year we broke 7 figures in revenue, which is just amazing. Going from earning your first dollar to actually building a decently sized business. Now it's not just kind of 2 of us, we've got a whole team around us. Those were incredible milestones. And of course now being able to turn this into a whole ecosystem of not just our consulting business, but having kind of what I would describe as an entrepreneur's playground, being able to constantly test, build, and launch new products is sort of a dream come true for me. The North Star for Onova is we're looking to, after recently breaking 7 figures of revenue, we're looking to, of course, continue growing and scaling from here, eventually getting to ideally 8 figures and beyond. That's on the consulting side. We want to be working for many of not only the world's largest companies, but also companies of all sizes, helping them to innovate and build this innovation culture. I would say the next big piece of our vision is building out the other parts of our ecosystem. So right now our product studio is entirely products that we've incubated within ourselves. In the future, I can see where we end up buying businesses and bringing them into our ecosystem, or partnering with other entrepreneurs to co-found businesses and figure out what model our dynamic works to effectively do that and be able to build up a whole portfolio of companies. And then thirdly, as well as continue to invest in businesses, we launched a couple of years ago a micro venture fund where we invested in about a dozen or so early stage tech startups. So we want to continue, whether it's founding companies, partnering with entrepreneurs, or investing in other entrepreneurs, and bringing all of that knowledge of that ecosystem back to the work that we do for our clients and helping them innovate. Since launch, we've been fortunate enough that our business has entirely grown through purely reputation and word of mouth. So we work with some of the biggest clients in the world. Typically, the end buyer is a CXO or a CIO. So these folks, there's nothing really better than a referral from one CIO to another CIO. So we benefited a lot from that. And of course, having a couple big brand names on our client list certainly helps. And that's something we want to continue to double down on, is we want to attract people who are really excited about innovating and supercharging a culture within their organization. So we're looking to put out more content there to, one, showcase the work that we've done with clients, but share more of our expertise. Our partners, we've built a very successful partnership with Capgemini, which was the consulting firm we used to work for, partnering with other organizations like these to work together to bring the spirit of things like hackathons to other large clients. I would say probably the biggest oh shit moment in our 5-year history has definitely been this past year in 2023, where it was looking to be a really strong year of growth for us at the outset of the year. But we ended up actually losing a couple clients, largely due to some macroeconomic factors, but then also just frankly unlucky with certain folks either being leaving their positions, people that had been real champions for us across some of our clients. So that was definitely an oh shit moment to be like, oh crap, we just lost a significant chunk of our revenue because we only work with a handful of clients and our average contract value is quite high, but losing a couple of those takes a really huge hit. And we had to really look back at our resources, see what we could sustain and maintain to keep the business alive, to make it through this tough year. Thankfully now we're nearing the end of the year and momentum is starting to build back in the positive direction. A big part is right now that we charge our clients in USD, but our entire staff is based out of Canada. So there's a bit of currency arbitrage that we're able to take advantage of. Secondly is in the early years of Onova, we really relied a lot on interns and contractors. And we benefit from building a business in Canada where there's lots of grants that actually help to cover the cost of hiring student interns. So while not a sustainable business in the long term, and we're intentionally transitioning away from just having most of our staff be more student-based or contractor-based to more full-time, it definitely helped in the early years where we weren't making a lot of money, we weren't paying ourselves much, and we just needed to keep costs as low as possible as we start to get things up and running. I would say a big thing that most don't understand is actually how much work and planning and time goes into running something like a large-scale global hackathon. For example, for one of our clients, for McDonald's, we run super complex events, which is a 24 plus hour hackathon, but across 40 countries, with 8 of them actually being in person. Chicago, London, UK, Sydney, Australia, as well as cities within India. So it's a huge operation. We basically plan all year long to run this event, and then we start next year's planning very shortly after wrapping up the previous year. And it typically involves a planning team of over 70 people across all of these cities that we orchestrate and manage. So we started actually entirely as a remote first company. I became a digital nomad when we started the company, Helen and I both, and she actually moved to Singapore, I moved down to Peru, and we were working across different time zones. We've of course grown quite a bit since then, and now are operating in more of a hybrid fashion. We have our office in Toronto. Tooling is incredibly important for keeping a company aligned and ensuring that communication persists, especially when folks are working remotely. Number one is probably Notion. Notion really serves as like a central database and wiki for all of our information. We've tried many other tools as well and have now been able to consolidate most of that within Notion, whether it's project management tools to meeting notes. Two is of course your standard media tools, from Zoom to Around is a favorite one with it that we use within the company. More recently now has been more on the AI tooling side. Recently, we've been able to kind of replace actually an extra team member that needs to be in each meeting to just take notes with AI note-taking apps. So that's been an incredible unlock from an AI perspective that's going to save us a lot of time, as well as tools like Copy AI to help really supercharge our marketing team, where you can take a transcript from one call and then be able to generate 3 blog posts or 3 LinkedIn posts, for example, out of that. Really helps to automate and scale up our efforts, especially as a small startup. Ooh. It's still sort of new domain and territory right now and is sort of all the buzz, but is really AI workflow implementation. In the next few years, it's all going to be about how do you take AI tooling and software and use that to drive efficiencies, surface up the creativity of your team, like freeing them up to work on the more creative aspects and the more strategic decisions where AI can sort of automate and scale their efforts across the rest of the company. Billions of dollars are going to be of value is going to be created from the actual tooling and the licensing itself, but billions more is going to be created from the actual implementation of those tools, identifying the right use cases and the specific use cases customized to each specific client or area or industry, and then how do you actually pick the right tooling to actually implement and actually take those efforts to maximize your return on investment. So I think that's a huge opportunity. I only say it's untapped right now because it's very, very early and it's yet to be determined what are going to be the biggest opportunities within this space. But it's definitely an area that we're looking to sort of dive into ourselves. The first strong opinion I have is that it's much more important to be a well-respected leader than being well-liked. So very early in my career, I would call myself more of a people pleaser. I like to make people feel good, and I always enjoyed leadership because you had the opportunity to give people a raise and make them feel good, or treat them to a meal. Like I was in this position that could bring a lot of good to other people. But I learned pretty quickly that there are times where tough decisions need to be made, and some of those tough decisions will be at odds with actually being somebody who is potentially well liked. Either you have to make layoffs because there's somebody who's like underperforming, or we have to cut costs because the business isn't doing well. Like we've had to do this year, we've had to cut costs, we've had to rescind some benefits, which isn't great, and it always sucks delivering that news. But when thinking long term, it's much more important to actually have a real business that can continue to grow and to thrive, because that's what these tough decisions lead to, than just building this kind of like kidding yourself about building this little environment where you can please people, but it's not actually a sustainable business in the long run. And ultimately, by making the decisions that lead to you being well respected, that actually also feeds into you being better liked as well in the long term, because then people start to respect your ability to actually lead and steer the ship in rough times. The second would be around the way we build culture here at Onova is quite unique. And I think a lot of it really relies on how a lot of people will say maybe like, oh, leave your emotions at the door. When it comes to work, like work is just about getting things done, efficiency. And what we fundamentally believe is we're all still humans at the end of the day, until AI really takes over. But right now we're mostly still humans, and humans have emotions. Like that's just who we are. That's part of who we are. And at Onova, we fundamentally believe in, and what we encourage is people really embrace those emotions and be willing to be vulnerable with their peers. And that helps really unlock a level of team culture and camaraderie that actually will yield much better business results in the long term, because people feel more comfortable with each other, they're more transparent, openly communicative. So we do a lot of things of course, to make our team feel good, from like team dinners to cottage trips, etc. But I would say the most impactful things have been just checking in emotionally, right? Being vulnerable ourselves and recognizing that, like, when times are tough and people are upset, they're angry, and how do we address that, as opposed to kind of like sweeping things under the rug. You can go to our website at www.onova.io to learn more about what we do, but also follow us on socials from LinkedIn and Twitter, both our company, but also you can follow me as we're constantly posting updates about whether it's new products that we're launching or the work that we do with our clients. And of course, feel free to reach out if you're interested to chat and learn more.